Alright, so now that we have our composition and our layout figured out, let's start diving into color. So, like I do with my other videos, let's duplicate this artboard. We're going to make a new row, and this new row is just strictly for color. So what I like to do is I'll go through my Pinterest boards, and there's different ways I go about finding color. In this instance, I really liked this packaging. I really love the gold and the green. So I'm just gonna literally color sample from here, the palette. So I really love that. I really love how those colors work together. Another thing I like to do is I'll either find other designs that I like and sample their colors, or I'll go to Design Seeds. That's a really great site to get some really great color palettes. Or Pinterest has some really great color palettes too, and I actually have a color palette board that I use. But I'm going to show you just how you can find a design that it looks really cool, that you can really get inspired by, and start making it your own and bringing in your flair to it. So this is a perfect example of that. It's everything is inspired by something, and when we think about originality is almost as if it's perfectionism is another word for that, to me. And what about perfectionism that makes it so hard is that you'll never reach it. You'll never reach that perfectionism. And originality, it's kind of that same thing. Like, we strive to be so original, but the thing is everything's been done before. So if everything's been done before, then why are we reinventing the wheel? Why don't we look at what's been done and build upon it, get inspired by it, try our own versions of things? So from a philosophical standpoint on originality, that's really where I stand. And originality to me, I think that originality happens, and there's definitely room for that with innovation and things like that. But I also feel that it can also hinder people. They're trying to be too original. They're trying to make it too perfect. That will actually hinder their process and making them feel like they will never reach that, or they're going to be constantly tweaking. And when you let go of that idea of perfectionism, you can just move on. So anyways, what I'm doing right now is I'm actually creating a gradient. So what I did is I sampled all those colors that are in that foil design, because I really love that. And I sample each one of those, which is those squares. Now I'm making a gradient. So I created a square. I used the gradient tool, and now I'm just adding these colors right to the gradient. And the thing about gradients is you have to use the colors that are within the swatch library. At least for me, that's how I've always used it. I really haven't found another way to do it. Like I said, there's multiple ways, so I'm not saying my way is always the right way, but for me, I'll sample those colors, then click and drag each individual color to the swatches, then bring those colors from the swatches into the gradient, which is now what I'm working on here. So I'm just wanting to make sure that this is having a nice form, a nice shape to it, that the gradients themselves make sense. So I'm just tweaking, moving things around. Yeah, might be too many things going on, so maybe need to simplify a little. Let's try this over here. So really, the gradients, what really makes them work is having things go light to light again, or dark to light. So you're getting these nice kind of waves of color that it's creating, and that's what gives that really nice gold looking effect. And this is more of a copper gold. I think it looks pretty cool. I'm really digging how this looks. Now I'm just going to go ahead and say that this isn't my work that I'm sampling from. This is a found work that I discovered on Pinterest. Okay, so I'm not claiming this work. I'm just using it for inspiration. I'm using it for educational purposes. And there we go. So we grab the colors that we like from there. Now we have a little color palette to play with. I'm really digging those colors. All right, now let's just start start doing it. So that green, man, that green already pops. I love that. Let's make this logo gold. Let's make it that gold. So if you hit G on the keyboard, that's your gradient tool. So you see if I hit G, I can adjust that gradient and make it the way I want it. That looks really cool. I really love that. That to me feels like a liquor bottle right there. It's like a Jameson or something. So let's do that again here. Sample that color, hit that G. Adjust the gradient. Looks good. Let's just add these colors here to our swatches. All right, let's do it for this stamp. Let's see how this is going to look. That looks way too intense. Let's see. Yeah, the thing is with foil, you have to use it very strategically because that looks super cheese balls. I don't like that at all. But I just wanted to show you an example of how it could look. The thing is, if you're doing gradients in like printing process, it's a different story. But for the sake of this and them being on digital formats here, it doesn't really work. So let's go back. Let's make our logo the gradient. Sample the logo. There we go. That's what's so cool about the eyedropper, because not only can you sample solid colors, you can sample gradients, you can sample type, you can sample all types of stuff. I love it. So let's just tweak this. Did a little mess up there. That's okay. Let's change the color. Make sure everything's even. Okay. White and green looks cool. Let's add a gradient to the stroke. I like that. That looks cool. All right, now let's work on the white version. There we go. Select that King George, give it that green. Love it. All right, so it's looking pretty good on the white background too. Looks pretty legible. The copper gold is definitely popping from the white background, so that's legible. Let's do it on there, but it looks pretty good on that green. So I'm definitely digging that. I think that looks pretty cool. I think that's a great palette there. All right, so let's actually do another artboard here. And what I'm going to do here is just really work on that logo and just seeing how it works. So we definitely have the green, we have the brownish tan color. It's like a burnt sienna kind of color. And let's use like a gray color from our font. And let's just use the icon and just see like how this icon is going to work by itself as a color, because we want to make sure that the icon can stand on its own, but that can also the icon and word mark work together for sure. So we're just really testing the integrity of this logo, making sure that it withstands all these different formats. So yeah, that looks pretty cool. Those colors look really well together. I love that shape. I love that tannish color. Kind of reminds me of like an old leather as well. But I want to try another color palette. Now I actually pulled a color palette on my other board here. So let me pull that up. What am I doing? I need to search for my board. Here we go. So I called it King James because I totally forgot that it was King George. So let's just fix that now. King George, you dingus. All right. So when I was pulling these references, I was definitely digging this one. Definitely liking this blue. So let's see how they work. So let's duplicate our boards. Our new row. Let's bring some of these colors over. Now it looks like that there's a more of a yellowish color, which we can make that yellowish color gradient. See how that works. But let's sample these other colors. We got this kind of slate color. It's kind of like Oxford bluish color. Now let's find this yellow color. Okay. It looks a little light. Let's see what this pen gives us. And then let's just tweak it a little. Let's see what we can get. We got more of that yellow. I like that. Cool. I'm digging that. That looks great. I think those really work well together. So now let's start working on our gradient. So we don't really have anything to sample from, but let's just go down the color palette here and just start selecting some colors. We're just going to choose some lighter values, darker values, do various as far as like more vibrancy, less vibrant. So we're just kind of getting a mixture of color so we can work with something for our gradient. So let's get something a little darker here. That looks good. All right. Now let's create a new square. Let's add our gradient. And let's click and drag these colors directly into the swatches to be able to add these specific colors to our gradient. It's a little tedious. There might be a better way. This is how I do it. There we go. Boom. All right, now let's start adding these colors into our gradient. Okay, I'll just click in here. And you're just gonna have to, change the colors around and see what's working. I'm trying to just use what I already had as a guide, so the darkest colors, just popping them in those spots. Adding the lighter colors. Let's see. It's feeling pretty good. Okay, that feels like a nice gradient. That's working for me. Alright, so let's start bringing some of this color in here. Ooh, that looks really cool. That gold really pops on that background too. I like that. Alright, let's see how this yellowish gold works. Huh. I'm not really feeling that yellow gold. Let's just keep going. Let's just see what we come up with. Let's see. Let's try that in a lighter color. Doesn't really have much of an impact. Yeah, I'm not digging that. you know what, let's just keep these colors. As far as the gradient colors, those colors look really cool. It's that leather, it just has that leather kind of like tone to it with the gradient, with that rose, or I'm sorry, I keep saying rose, but that copper. My other client that I'm working with has like a rose gold design. So this is this copper gold. It just looks really cool on that blue. Blue is such a great color too, and it really gives off, it really communicates loyalty. It really communicates trust. Holdings company, you know, it makes sense, right? It's like the giving the trust, the one that's overseeing these other two operations. You know, you can think about it like that. You can kind of tell yourself a little story to make sense of why you're choosing the colors. So let's make these colors that blue, or that it's more like a, I'd say it's more like a slate blue, like a slate color. It's because I see like a kind of hint of blue, but it's mostly gray. It's like a slate gray. I like it. I call it that other blue, more of an Oxford kind of blue. So there we go. We have a cool color palette. I'm really digging that. And it's kind of a combination of two different color palettes from two different designs. So even, you know, we took one gradient from the first one, and then we took the darker colors from the other one. So that totally works. And yeah, because like I said, you don't need to reinvent the wheel here. You know, just find things that work, you know, that work, understand what makes them good, experiment with it, make it your own, and have fun with it, right? Because if you're not having fun, then what's the point? So this is just a great, simple way. And you can do this, you can do another one, you can do other colors. So you can have multiple versions. And what's kind of cool is we could use that green. You know, that could be used for one of the other brands, since there's two other brands. So it could work. So that's it. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video.